Hey guys, welcome to Risen Rogue Academy. This is Risen. You have come to my corner. I'm here to explain to you guys what we're gonna do about this server merge. So, if you haven't heard, Grandapan will be merging with Dodge and Brutas. So that's gonna be Dodge being an international server, a mostly low population server as far as participation, so like a dead server they call it. Grandapan used to be an international server. Now it's still technically, but it's mostly a Spanish server, and then Brutas is a Spanish server. So ultimately what they were going for is they were like, well, we should, at first they wanted to merge Epsilon with Grandapan and Dodge to make one big English server. But that was like disheartening. It's like, okay, so you're gonna throw away the new servers you just made, just throw that in the trash. What they ended up doing is they're gonna take some of the new servers of different languages, mix it together, and make an international new server. And then they're gonna mix Dodge and English server, Grandapan and English and Spanish server, mostly Spanish, 95% Spanish, and Brutas, which is a Spanish server, and they're bringing it all together. A lot of people were kind of disappointed by this in the beginning. People were worried that we wouldn't have so many people to communicate with. At the end of the day, once you're in a guild, English alliance, you speak among yourselves. I'm learning Spanish. I know a couple other people who are learning Spanish. And hopefully they add translators to the game that would make it a lot easier. Because these are people. We have to, they're welcoming us into their server, because Brutus is the big one. Brutus is the big server. They're welcoming us, and we should respect their dominance and try to get along with them as well as we can. And they can help us, we can help them. The reason I'm making this video is because I'm not an economist, but I am like math. I have an affinity for math. And so the idea of going from a small server to a larger server, I felt like there was, like, with my understanding of economics, there was like a welcoming to, like, what should we invest in before we move to the new server? Like, what kind of assets can we buy in this server that will either maintain value or grow in value or just soften the blow of moving to a new server? I went onto the Discord. The Discord was like, I made a whole paragraph or two. I like to make paragraphs or two. And I asked them what they thought would maintain value or grow in value. So one person said pebbles might be a good option, just because pebbles are used in everything. And it's also a very limited resource because it's bought by limited resources. You can only get so many pebbles in a day. You can only get so many pebbles, because pebbles come from almanacs, which is you can only do once a day. Dopplunes, doppels, which you can only do so many of them a day on each character, and you can only go through an entire group of them in one day. And then Colosseum is just difficult to win unless you're like really well prepared. So it's just a limited resource in general. So Pebbles was a pretty good shot in the dark there. Keys was another thing I heard, because dungeons always will need keys. So if you had a bunch of commas and you're like, okay, well, I need something that's going to be needed in the new server, well, keys are going to do pretty well. So if you think about it, it's like, oh, well, there's not as much use for keys on our small server. This is the logic of what we need to cultivate. You know, there's not many people on our server, so we don't go through as many keys, which means they're cheaper to buy. And then you go on a big server, there's more people, so it's worth more. And so we have to find what we gain from a small population that they lose out on from having a big population. So that's when the idea of arch monster souls came up. Because arch monster souls, now they spawn a lot faster than they ever had. But at the same time, I mean, like there's so much competition for arch monster souls on a big server, whereas on a small server, I mean, arch monsters are just running around, just because there's less people taking them down. So because of the fact that the supply is so easy to come by, I would imagine, and it stands to reason that if we really like grind arch monster souls before the server travels over, then that would be a really good translation of resources. I think we'd be making some good commas that way. The next option is I put straight commas, just the lowest risk option. Like, you know, if you don't know what is going to increase in price, decrease in price, just liquefy stuff. Liquefy your assets into commas and then be like, okay, well, it'll only tank so much. But I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to hold on to items that are that can hold value, and I don't think commas will. Exomaged gear was one thing that was brought up. They're unique, you know. They're very hard to land an exo on gear, so it gives it a level of uniqueness where not only is it rare, but it's like specific. Like if you have an Alistair crown with 1 AP on it, that is going to hold value just because some people might put AP on their Alistair's ring, but someone else is like, oh crap, I already have my rings with exos on it, I need one with a hat. So they would see, oh, this person from the other server brought an Alistair's hat with an AP exo, and then that's where the value maintains. It's such a unique item, it's such a niche specific item, it could hold value when we change servers. Another idea I came up with, I just brainstormed. I just stood in front of my computer and just typed until it made sense. Almanacs resources was another thing. I was thinking, like, if you find out whenever the server is gonna merge, then you can go on the Almanacs website and you can be like, find out for the next few weeks what the Almanac's offerings are going to be, and then you can turn them in. You can put them for sale like as they're needed, and then you can be the first one there and save some and make some commas just from being prepared, especially if those are items that you never know could be worth less on their server, or more on their server. It's just an option that there's a chance that some of the things that you farm are worth more for us, and we can sell them and at a good price. We'd be the first to what I wrote is we would be the first to the pitch, and a lot of those items might be worth nothing here. So and that it's just an opportunity to find something that might translate, that might translate in that way. Buy low in Grandapan, sell high in Brutas. Or whatever they named the new server. Another idea I came up with was expensive runes, or maybe any runes, just because. So we have the multiplier system that they added to maging, where you can crush an item, and if it wasn't crushed often enough, then it generates more runes. Sometimes a lot more runes. So I was thinking, because of that multiplier, you could ultimately find out what is not crushed a lot in Grandapan, and hope that when we transfer servers, that thing is crushed a lot more often over there. So you would I feel like there's so much more opportunity to find those sneaky equipments that are secretly hiding a really high multiplier on crushing, and crush them here, hold on to the runes, and then sell them on the new server. So I think runes would be good if you can exploit that multiplier, because I have a feeling that once we get to the new server, it's gonna be so high competition that I feel like there's gonna be less like crazy risk that you can gain from. I feel like things will kind of level out a lot more. So if you can find those rune crushing recipes now, then it probably would hold more value when we change servers. Just a theory. These are all theories. Another idea I had was prisms or teleportation modules. It's made by Handymen. Just because we don't do AVA on this server, I figured that prisms or teleportation modules probably are worth nothing here in Grandapan, or Dodge probably doesn't. It's not worth much either. So when we go to a mixed server where people are gonna be like, "Hey, we should AVA now," I feel like those items would sell a lot better. Another idea I came up with was Emerald Drago turkeys. I just feel like those always, maintain value. Not maintain value. Obviously they can sink in value from oversaturation, but Emerald Drago turkeys are usually like really deep in the family tree. So it could be worth something when we transfer over. Also, rare ores, I was thinking, would do really well, because mining is so competitive that since it's so little competition here, I would say it would make a lot of sense that you could take those ores that we farm so easily here and then sell them on the mixed server, on the merged server, just because there will be so much competition once we get there that they might hold value. At the same time, these are all old servers. People who are level 100 miner or high level miner are probably there already, but ores will still, increase in value just because there's going to be, scarcity over there. So here's another idea I came up with. Resources that can be used to grind professions. So once again, we're merging old servers, so it's not like we're going into a new server where people are begging to get their professions leveled. But at the same time, there might still be people trying to level professions. So if you are able to if you know a way to level jeweler really fast, if there's a ring that you're oh, this ring, the resources are cheap on our server, and people on the new server might really benefit from having, from needing to XP a profession, especially with so many people coming back, maybe new players coming in. I feel like going onto the trade chat and being like, either in English or Spanish, being like, hey, I got a lot of resources that can help you grind your jeweler. Then you can basically sell profession XP. And I feel like that could do well. So for this next one, this one was kind of interesting. I asked my girlfriend about this one. She's not really a gamer or anything like that. But she does have common sense, pretty good common sense. So I asked her, if you were in a village of 3,000 people and moved to a city of 2 million people, what would be worth more? So like, let's say you were just on a little village and everything had its value, and then you moved to a new city. What from your village can you bring with you that's going to be worth way more in a big city? And so what she said was food, water, land, and gas. So I think that there's some merit to that. I'd say maybe healing items would convert pretty well, just because there's going to be more people using them. And obviously, if people who know how the market works, whoever puts the price the cheapest is the one who's going to get the sale. So if you like stock up on healing items here where maybe they're not selling as fast because there's not as much people, then that might be something that translates over to, hey, we have such a high demand, we're glad you brought your food over. Just a thought. As for gas, I thought maybe things that Drago turkeys can eat, so like raw meat, prepared meat, fish, gutted fish. I don't know if there's other things that could convert well, but I don't know, that's not huge. But I mean, if people gotta feed their Drago turkeys, then but it's not huge. I wouldn't go buy that. But if we're trying to think of a way to compare it to gas, I would say that's it. Land is a tough one because houses aren't converting over. You're gonna start. They're gonna start being sold with ghoultines. If I had to guess, I would say the amount of ghoultines they're gonna cost is gonna be more than we can generate free to play. But if we really wanted to use the experiment here and say, how can we generate ghoultines? How can we increase value by generating ghoultines? So I'm like, okay, so you want to buy a house with ghoultines. How can we save some money on ghoultines? Well, dailies can give ghoultines. You can get a pouch of ghoultines from dailies, and often those dailies are usually Borker, Celestial Barbarian. I think the Fire Pandala dungeon, I think it's called Fukunishu, and Hanshi, and I believe, which is the Air Panda, and then I think the Earth Panda also has some dailies that give ghoultines, if you do achievements with them. So if that was a genuine way to generate ghoultines, then I would say the keys to those dungeons would probably sell really well. There's going to be probably more people doing dailies, more people who want to generate ghoultines. So if you can get the keys to Borker, Celestial Barbarian, Fire Pandala, Earth Pandala, and Air Pandala, then that could be, if I don't know how significant it's going to be, but just a theory, it'll add up to something. But those keys might sell. And then I had 3 other things. There was precious stones, so those are just rare. You can get them. The most common way to drop precious stones is from dragons. Dragons drop precious stones. I think that they're at like a 5% rate, while cracklers drop at like 2.5%. So they're just overall rare drops that need to be refined by a miner and turned into diamonds, rubies, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they're always gonna have value. I mean, invest in gold, people. Like, no, but like rubies, sapphires, all that kind of stuff. If you can grind for that, then they might maintain value just because of their rarity. Also, I don't think people run to fight cracklers all the time. So I just feel like that's one of those resources that are just always going to be rare. The next thing I had was breeding items. I'd imagine there's tons of Drago turkeys on Brutas. So breeding items I think would do pretty well. They probably go through them very fast. It's one of those things where not as many people need breeding items here. Most people who use breeding items, I'd imagine, are themselves. They're making them for themselves to use. So because of the cheapness of them that we might have on this server because of the lower demand, those might transfer pretty well to the new server. And then the last one I had was max level mounts. So that goes back to like Emerald Drago turkeys I was talking about. One of my ways to make combos, I'll buy camo emerald mixed with something else mounts. They'll be level 1. I'll push them to level 100, and then I'll sell them. I make like 200,000 commas a pop when I do that. It takes a long time, but I get so much XP from being level 200. So I get them really fast, and then I flip them, and that's how I make commas. That's one of my ways to make commas. So those are the ideas I had just from my brainstorming session. The conversation went on for a while on Discord. We had a few messages, and then it changed topic. I don't know if I would open that up again. Maybe I would, maybe I won't. But if we want to talk about what kind of things we think will be good value transferring servers, then I would recommend adding a comment below and say, tell me what you're thinking about. Tell me what your thoughts are. If you have any wild ideas on if you're in a small village going to a big city, what's going to maintain value. If you have any ideas like that, I'm more than willing to hear it. Throw it in the comments and we'll find a way to stay rich when we transfer over. So that's my thoughts, and thanks for coming. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.